Good evening, my dear friends. Here is Geraldinho Lemos from Belo Horizonte, Brazil. I'm here with Marco Gandra, and we are doing the program to Know Spiritism number 38. We are transmitting live for DSN, Discover Spiritism Network, Spiritism Dissemination, and also Kardec Radio. You are all very welcome. We have been talking about this crisis, this coronavirus crisis. And for the program today, the number 38 program, I decided to bring you a question that was asked to Chico Xavier. The question was addressed to Emmanuel, Chico Xavier's guide, by a few dozen of people that were attending a public meeting on the night of February 28th, 1972, in the city of Uberaba, Minas Gerais. And they were talking about calamities, public calamities. At that time in Brazil, a great circus was set on fire, and hundreds of people died in the same night. It was a horrified calamity. And because of that, because of the Chico Xavier's answer, I thought it was pretty much a nowadays thing to talk about, because we are in this public calamity in worldwide, from China to Brazil, from the United States to Great Britain, from India to Europe. Everywhere we are facing this obstacle that is the coronavirus, COVID-19. And it's a public calamity, so that, and we can see in Chico Xavier's answer that he addressed the question of the epidemics, so that we can understand the loss of justice, and also we can understand and rely upon the mercy, the laws of mercy, the divine mercy that also are upon us. Let's see what Chico Xavier answered. First, he told the people there, we really recognize in God perfect love. Let me just, before that, let me read the question. The question was, since God is infinite goodness, why does he allow the afflicted death of so many cloistered and defenseless people, as in the case of the great calamities or great fires? And so that Chico Xavier answered, we really recognize in God perfect love combined with perfect justice. And man, the Son of God, growing in love, brings with him immanent justice, becoming as a result, in any situation, the most severe judge of himself. Here, Chico Xavier is starting addressing this question, showing us that the judge of ourselves are we ourselves, our conscience. Then he told us, when we return from earth to the spiritual world, aware of our own responsibilities, we operate to lift our past debts and ask for the necessary means in order to redeem them properly. So after we discarnate from the earth crust and arrive in the spiritual realm, we ask to understand to be aware of our past and to operate to lift our past debts. And after that, we ask the necessary means in order to redeem ourselves. So we ask for another reincarnation on earth, so that we can face our conscience in that and feel redeemed in our hearts, in ourselves. And so Chico proceed. This is how we are often reborn on the planet in groups committed to multiple redemption. So it is not a coincidence that we reincarnate in a group of people committed with the same debts, committed to redeem themselves together around the same debts from past lives. And now Chico Xavier showed us some examples that we are going to read now. First, illicit invaders by their own ambition, which crushed collectivities in plunder of plunder, we return to earth with different charges, but in a regime of scheduled appointment for joint discarnation in public accidents. The first example that Chico Xavier is giving us is from the ones that in the past lives were formed a group of invaders of other cities, of other villages, of other nations, and that was inspired by their own ambition to crush collectivities, and because of that, they have this debt in their conscience, and in some time after they understand that they must redeem themselves, they ask to come back to earth, so that in a different position, in different charges, but in a regime of scheduled appointment with the ones that were together with them in the past lives, so that they are set to face discarnation in a group, in public accidents, all together. That's the first example that Chico Xavier brought to us. The second example is community explorers. When we use up our strength for personal gain, we ask to return to the dense body to face together the climax of devastating epidemics. And this is very interesting, because this is what is happening right now everywhere on earth, in every country, in every continent. We are facing not a devastating epidemics, but a devastating pandemic, because it's worldwide. And what Chico Xavier is revealing to us is very important, that the ones that are discarnating, that are losing their lives because of the coronavirus, because of this great epidemics, this pandemic, worldwide pandemic of COVID-19, most probably in the past lives were community explorers that used all of their strength for personal gain, in spite of the people's necessities or sufferings. He's talking about an egoistic thing in the past that provoked pain in others, that provoked poverty in others, that provoke abuse in others, in communities, and now in this life they have the opportunity to meditate of the transitory position of the material world and face a climax of devastating epidemics. This is very impressive. I was astonished myself with this question that Chico Xavier answered in 1972, and it is so up to date uh, to what we are now facing all over the world, that I thought it was a good thing to bring this to you. The second example that Chico Xavier, no, the third example that Chico Xavier brought to us is like that. Promoters of wars handled for assault and cruelty by the megalomania of gold and power, in strengthening us for regeneration, we pled the physical plan in order to suffer the death of sharing, apparently undeserved, in events of blood and tears. In a way, this is also one of the reasons that we can speculate about the past reasons, about the past deaths that those people that are losing their lives today must probably have in their conscience. Chico Xavier is telling us about the promoters of wars that took by assault and cruelty, because of that their megalomania of gold and power in past lives, crushing civilizations, cities, villages, to promote wars. And they are, after their conscience recognized this death, they asked to come back to face this the death of sharing in events of blood and tears. So it could probably be acceptable to understand that the coronavirus victims also can be in this kind of redemption. And the fourth example that Chico Xavier brought to us is corsairs who set fire to boats and cities in order to conquer easy prey, observing us in the hereafter with the problems of guilt. We requested the return to earth for collective discarnation in painful fires, inexplicable without reincarnation. And we just faced lots of fires. I remember the fires in the Amazon region. I remember the Great Fire of Australia not so long ago, and also the great wildfires in California, in Nevada, in the United States, and also the ones that took part in Portugal some years ago, and also in Spain. And also I remember Greece. In Greece, they had this kind of problem. And Chico Xavier is explaining to us that those kind of redemption, the discarnation in painful fires, collective discarnation together, a large group of people, they are only explicable with the reincarnation law, with the understanding that we have our past life deaths, and we must see that as a result of our past deviations, so that we were probably, in that case, we're corsairs, and we must probably set fire on boats and cities and villages just to conquer our easy prey. And in readjustment now, in this life, we probably face those wildfires or painful fires like the ones I noted that happened in Brazil, in Niterói, with the circus that was set on fire and hundreds of people died. And also I remember in the southern part of Brazil, in Santa Maria, Rio Grande do Sul, the fire that took part in a disco club that took the lives of 230 young people. So everything happens for a reason. And Chico concluded, we create guilt, and we ourselves manage the processes aimed at extinguishing the consequences. And divine wisdom makes use of our efforts and tasks of rescue and readjustment in order to induce us to study and progress more and more with regard to our own security. So that we understand by this part of Chico Xavier's answer that all those crises or all those collective death, they are not a punishment from God, because God is all love. But it is a situation that is happening because we ourselves, because we had our conscience in that, we understand the severity of this debt, and we ask to come back to Earth, to live again in a collective matter, in a group of people that had the same kind of problems, and we face one way or another our own redemption by this kind of situation, so that God rescued us through ourselves, readjustment our pathway, inducing us to study his laws and to progress in morality in our hearts and minds more and more. And that is in a great happening with regard to our own security, our own spiritual security. And Chico also said, it is for this reason that of all earthly calamities, man withdraws with more experience and more light in the brain and heart to defend himself and to value life. So let's now understand that those people that are right now facing death in this great calamity, in this great pandemic of coronavirus, they are in a very good situation, because they are understanding that this withdrawal, they are entering the spiritual realm with more experience, and more light in their brain and heart, and so that they are capable to defend themselves, and they understand the value of life that in past lives they didn't. And nowadays, because they are facing this great calamity, their consciousness is getting free of the debt, and full of the understanding of value of life. That's very profound, and we all must meditate and understand that. Chico Xavier also said, "Let us regret without despair how many have become victims of disasters that confuse our souls. The pain of all of them is our pain. The problems they faced are also ours." And here Chico is talking about solidarity, fraternity in our thoughts, in our minds, and in our hearts, in direction, focusing those that are facing those difficult times of being infected and of the coronavirus, and also mainly the ones that are not returning to life, that are facing the disconnection, the death. So their problems are our problems. Their pain are our pains. So that we must act and think and feel as we were in their position, so that we can pray for them, so that we can pray that they have peace of mind and also tranquility in their hearts. And to finish his answer, Chico Xavier said, "Let us not forget, however, that we are never without the presence of divine mercy, with the occurrences of divine justice, that suffering is invariably reduced to the minimum for each of us, that everything is renewed for the good of all, and that God always gives us the best." So this closes the subject, because Chico Xavier is so profound in his answer to the question that they brought to him. Because in a matter of, of everything that happens, especially in the matter of all calamities, of all epidemics, of all disasters, of all community problems, and in the matter of this pandemic of coronavirus, we must not forget that we have the presence of the divine mercy of God with us, giving us the minimum suffering for each of us, the minimum suffering that we can endure and can also win in this obstacle. And all the occurrences are being guided by the divine justice. The Institute of Divine Justice, together with the Institute of Divine Mercy. So God is upon us in every way, in every place, in every problem. And He is assisting us with His Son, our Lord Jesus Christ, and our beloved Jesus is assisting us with his messengers, our mentors and guides, the good spirits that brings us courage patience, understanding, and love. Because everything is renewed for the good of all. And always God give us only the best. That's our program for today, this program to know Spiritism number 38. And I hope you appreciate this question that Chico Xavier answered so profoundly. And it is so up to date to the problems that we as a whole, we as a community, the earthly community, are facing nowadays with the coronavirus crisis. Let us meditate on this answer. Let us think about it and pray that we can accept it in our hearts and minds. Because after that, we must certainly win this challenge, win this obstacle with great faith and peace in our souls. Thank you for watching. I see you next week. Bye-bye.